didn't just take their lives. He took the light that carried it into every room.
You're gonna go to hell. You're evil. There's no place for you in heaven. You took our children.
You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else.
Nobody cares about you. You're not worth the time.
No conceivable reason could make any sense. In my view, the time has now come to end Mr. Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame.
Those were the words from family members of the 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered, and survivors speaking directly to Bryan Kohberger during his sentencing on Wednesday. Now, the judge sentenced Kohberger to 4 consecutive life sentences without parole.
It was part of a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Kohberger is now in custody at an Idaho state prison. He'll spend the next couple weeks undergoing evaluations to determine his permanent housing and privileges. Newly released documents from overnight revealed the night of the murders, Kohberger used his phone to search for a police scanner, looking up live audio from police and fire dispatch just after midnight. Now, after the sentencing, families expressed mixed feelings about the plea deal.
Now, some welcomed it as a way to just close this chapter. Others say they were upset that Kohberger didn't have to give the motive.
It wasn't justice. It was just a shortcut.
We believe we've achieved accountability and finality and certainty for everyone who has suffered from this.
The sentence will ensure that this evil will never again terrorize a family as he did ours and 3 others.
Kohberger showed no emotion despite hours of testimony and declined to speak during sentencing. The judge said a motive may never be known.
Well, Dr. Sandoval Plasencia has pled guilty to giving ketamine to the late Friends star Matthew Perry before he died. He is the 4th of 5 people charged in connection to Perry's overdose in 2023 to plead guilty. The doctor admitted to distributing ketamine but didn't provide the fatal dose, though, he says. In exchange for that guilty plea, prosecutors will drop 5 other charges. He does remain out on bond until sentencing that's coming up on December 3, where he could face a possibility of 40 years in prison. Well, the Epstein files and birthright citizenship are 2 of your D.C. daily headlines for July 24. President Trump's name is in the Epstein files, but we will not see them anytime soon anyway. Attorney General Pam Bondi reportedly telling the president he is mentioned in the unreleased Epstein files several times. That reporting from the Wall Street Journal, and does point out it doesn't imply any wrongdoing on the part of the president. Now, the White House is calling the report fake and says the Justice Department didn't release the files because they contain child pornography and victim names. Now, 2 federal judges ruled on Wednesday to block the White House request to release the grand jury transcripts that led to Epstein's indictments. Those rulings, though, not a surprise, since grand jury evidence is rarely, if ever, publicly released. President Trump cannot end birthright citizenship, at least for now. A second appeals court ruling President Trump's executive order violates the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which guarantees U.S. citizenship to every baby born on U.S. soil, even if the baby's parents are in the states illegally or temporarily. Not a done deal yet. The question of birthright citizenship is expected to make its way to the Supreme Court. President Trump is doing something today that no president has done for nearly 20 years. He will visit the Federal Reserve. Now, the president has been very critical of Federal Chairman Jerome Powell for not cutting the benchmark interest rate, which right now averages about 4.5%. The president has even threatened to fire Powell after he appointed him in 2017 during his first term. No word, though, if Trump will actually meet with Powell. Powell's current term, by the way, ends next May, and the next Fed meeting on interest rates is on Tuesday. Right, so after the controversial opening of what is being called Alligator Alcatraz in Florida, the U.S. Department of Defense has announced plans this week to spend more than $1 billion to build the country's largest immigration detention center here in Texas at Fort Bliss and El Paso.
Senator John Cornyn has expressed his support for such a facility. Fox's Casey Stiegel has more.
Following in Florida's footsteps, Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn this week in a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee says he wouldn't mind replicating the idea of an Alligator Alcatraz-like facility in Texas.
I'm hopeful that other states will step up to help in similar ways. If we could find a way to make something like this work in Texas, I would strongly support it.
Texas has previously pitched the feds. Earlier this year, the state's land commissioner offered the Trump administration more than 1,400 acres of land down in Starr County along the border to build immigrant detainee holding and processing sites. Belts of Texas land near El Paso into New Mexico have become militarized zones where troops are deputized to carry out immigration enforcement.
And I'd encourage our governor, as well as Secretary Noem, to explore the possibility of locating future detention facilities in Texas.
A ball DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says is already moving.
We're looking at other locations as well. We've had several other states that are actually using Alligator Alcatraz as a model for how they can partner with us as well.
What are some of those? Are there other states?
I'm having ongoing conversations with 5 other governors about facilities that they may have.
Noem wouldn't elaborate when asked which states or an exact timeline. Governor Abbott's office didn't get back with us Wednesday. Critics don't support the current one, much less adding others. From the jump, protesters, Democratic lawmakers, and other advocacy groups have alleged human rights violations at Alligator Alcatraz.
We have individuals 37 to cage who are sharing 1 or 2 toilets.
It sits on a 39-square-mile former airport site in the middle of the Everglades, surrounded by alligators and pythons. Current capacity is 3,000, with plans to expand to 5,000. Accusations from detainees recently surfaced about deplorable cramped conditions, infested with mosquitoes, water leaks. Secretary Noem told reporters,
Any issues that were there have been addressed.
While the American Civil Liberties Union has filed at least one lawsuit against the Trump administration over Alligator Alcatraz, the feds say space is urgently needed to keep up with arrests.
We need to double our capacity in detention beds because we need to facilitate getting people out of this country as fast as possible and to sustain our operations.
All right, at 34 minutes after the hour today marks day 4 of the 1-month Texas special session. Now, lawmakers expected to hold the first public hearing on the issue of redrawing the voter maps.
But yesterday, the special session focused on the deadly July 4th flooding. Denise Middleton here now with a look at the questions lawmakers were asking, the points made to prevent something like this from happening again, Denise.
Yeah, this was the first of several legislative hearings into the deadly floodings, and a second will take place at the end of the month. But it was a rare joint meeting of House and Senate committees trying to determine how to improve disaster planning and response. Now, the testimony from the various state and regional officials revealed lack of training for emergency management officials, along with failure to address several communication challenges. They discussed a lack of warnings from state officials to local leaders who are responsible for calling for evacuations during a disaster, and how there's no system to ensure locals get urgent warnings.
We have to find a way to give the locals more tools and more confidence that if they believe they need to make the call, and if it's 12 hours out, they make it, or preferably in an event like this, after looking at where the camp was specifically, shelter in place and get on the roof. Some of the kids actually were able to climb up the wall of the canyon because they had enough notice.
Now, experts who testified all pointed to a lack of funding as the main reason why the state does not have interconnected communication channels between local, state, and federal agencies. We'll continue to bring you the latest from the hearings. Reporting live in the studio, Denise Middleton, Fox 26 News.
If you're running out the door, a couple things you'll want to know first.
Chevron says it'll lay off nearly 600 Houston workers this fall. The Houston Chronicle reports 575 workers will be laid off on September 26th. The layoffs follow Chevron's acquisition of Hess Corp last week. Chevron says the job cuts are from the Hess side of the house and that impacted workers will be offered severance benefits and, quote, outplacement support.
Hey, if you have ever used SharePoint to share files or, documents, heads up, Microsoft says that China-backed hackers have been behind this server system hack. So it says that they targeted 3 different systems used by businesses, government agencies, also former government and military personnel, and healthcare providers as well. So what do? Microsoft advises that you apply its newest security update as soon as you can. Also, if you've noticed, last time you went to the grocery store, not your imagination, the price of beefsteak and beef is up and will likely stay high through the fall. The average price for a pound of beef last month was 12% higher compared to just a year ago. The cost of beef has been going up over the last 20 years. In general, cattle herds are getting smaller across the country. So the USDA says there are just about 86 million herd of cattle this year, the lowest they've seen since 1951.
Uber is launching a new program to help women feel safer when hailing a ride. The new service lets them set a preference for women-only rides, including drivers and fellow passengers. However, at peak times, women-only rides are not guaranteed. The pilot program is set to roll out in the coming weeks, beginning with LA, San Francisco, and Detroit.
Listen to this. Meta says that they have removed more than 600,000 accounts that sexualize children. They've also introduced some new safety features for teens and kids on Facebook and Instagram, like new safety options for direct messages to teen accounts, like combined block and report options, along with stricter message settings and word filters for adult managed accounts. The updates, they say, are helping to provide age-appropriate experiences and prevent any unwanted contact and protect teenagers from unsafe content.
Well, every day there are many reasons to celebrate. You know, the National Day calendar, it was made for morning news. So
yes.
Today it's National Tequila Day, National Cousins Day, and National Thermal Engineer Day.
Dang it, I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot that one.
Dagnabbit. Also, it is
National Drive-Thru Day.
That means you get some steals and deals here. Krispy Kreme giving you a free glazed donut if you're driving through. Scooter's Coffee giving you $2 off any Caramelicious drink in the app. Dunkin' has special offers for rewards members, and there are some others too. I think Starbucks is doing something, Wendy's, Burger King, but you do have to be like rewards members for a lot of these, so know that before you drive through.